Iran holds elections in 4-year cycles for president, parliament, the Assembly of Experts, and local councils. Its most recent parliamentary elections were in February 2020, and its most recent presidential election was June 2021. This video describes how Iran manages its elections and introduces the major political figures and trends of the past 20 years. As Yasmin Alem notes, Iran holds elections for 3 main reasons. First, to manage competition among elite factions. Iran's politics is highly volatile, and holding elections is an organized forum through which to decide and signal who is up and who is down. Second, to gauge public sentiment. While Iran's elections do not fully reflect the public will, they have in the past provided a way for the public to register opinion on key matters, whether voting for reformists in the late 1990s or by not voting at all today. And finally, most important, to demonstrate public support for the regime. Iran's leadership consistently touts high turnout figures as a demonstration that Iran's public supports its political system and the revolution. Their audience is both international and domestic, seeking to limit public discontent by showing that the majority of people favor the status quo. Iranian officials cite its electoral process as evidence that it is a democracy, but Iranian elections are unique in 2 ways. First, an unelected body, the Council of Guardians, disqualifies candidates from running for office if they do not meet certain criteria. And second, while political parties are legal in Iran, parties are just not the way it organizes political activity. A note on political parties. This is more a matter of tradition and practice than the law, but Iran doesn't really have parties, it has factions. We'll talk more about what factions mean next week, but for now you should be aware that there are currently 3 or 4 broad categories of politicians in Iran. On the left are the reformists, who held the presidency and parliament in the late 1990s under former President Ali Khatami, but hold little formal power today. In the center are traditional conservatives like former Speaker of Parliament Ali Larijani, and on the right are more hardline conservatives called principalists, represented by Ebrahim Raisi, Iran's current president. Finally, some people describe a moderate or pragmatic faction, consisting of politicians such as former President Hassan Rouhani, that, while generally espousing conservative values, also believe in balancing those values with the need to gain public support and avoid international isolation. These are very general and debated terms, not hard and fast affiliations. Factions will often publish lists of candidates that they support prior to elections, but some individuals appear on more than one faction's list. Having factions rather than parties allows politicians flexibility in forming political coalitions, but it also means that there are unclear ideological distinctions between groups. Elections themselves are managed by the government in 2 ways: the Council of Guardians and the election administration itself. First, the Council of Guardians has formal approval over which candidates are allowed to run for office, a process called vetting. It disqualifies candidates who do not demonstrate sufficient loyalty to the Constitution, Islam, or the principle of velayat-e-faqih, the rule of the supreme leader. The number of disqualifications has varied over time, but it has increased in recent elections and has been used to exclude larger numbers of reformist and moderate candidates. Indeed, almost all serious reformist and moderate candidates were excluded from the last presidential election. The Council of Guardians has also rejected female candidates from running for president, but not parliament. The central government controls the management of the elections themselves. While Iran traditionally manages its elections by limiting candidates, not falsifying actual election results, former President Ahmadinejad's placement of loyalists on local election commissions did allow him to post unusually high turnouts and vote counts in his favor in the fraudulent 2009 election. The result is that today, Iran has a parliament and government dominated by conservatives. For example, in the previous parliament, the pro-Rouhani Hope faction had 102 members of parliament. Only 7 members of that list are in the new parliament. Turnover is also very high. Fewer than 20% of members of the current parliament held their seat prior to the current election. Finally, turnout in the most recent election hit a record low, a blow to a regime that emphasizes voting in elections as an endorsement of the political system.